Hello everyone and welcome to the first ever episode of the Late LIPA show. I am Isaac Moore, the host with the most from the North East Post, and I am here with the amazing Ria Hanley. Thank you so much for joining us. So I believe that you are a music student. So how did you get to LIPA? What was your kind of beginnings? How would you say that you got into the music scene? What were your biggest inspirations?
So my initial inspiration was Emily Sandé. I kind of looked up to her at the age of like 10. I've kind of always sung. I was always that child at karaoke that just wouldn't get off, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then from then on, I just didn't really shut up, I'm not gonna lie. I was singing all the time. And then it was about 13 that I kind of took it seriously, started writing my own songs, and now I'm here. That was kind of, yeah.
I can't complain, we're all here now, it's a great place. So you grew up in Southampton. Is there much of a music scene around where you grew up? Is there kind of a big arts representation in that town?
So I had a year out from like between college and uni.
Okay.
And I literally just gigged the Southampton scene, supporting like local music acts, and it's like a really nice tight knit community. Like as soon as you're in, like people try and help each other, like get up. And yeah, I do like the Southampton music.
Good. Have you kind of performed anywhere else other than your town? What was kind of the first place that you kind of moved away from Southampton and kind of went further on, would you say, to the next step?
So I did a gig in Brighton.
Okay.
That's like the biggest one I think that I've done, and Bournemouth, which is like a local. And that was quite a big gig. But I think my biggest gig was probably, I think it was 3,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I have never done anything that would amount to that. I feel proud of you, and I wasn't even there, so that is amazing. So what was Brighton like? I mean, I've only ever heard a little bit kind of like what about performing kind of Brighton is. I heard it's like a really lovely place. Did you find a lot of support there with your next step? Like what was that like performing there? What was that moment like for you?
I loved Brighton. Brighton's very much like you go to Brighton, everyone's your friend.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my god, like all the hype gals in the audience, I live for it. Yeah, I think Southampton still has my heart.
Yeah.
But I do love gigging in other cities and kind of speaking to other people, getting new perspectives on my music.
Cool. So kind of here from what you're saying, you really like to perform live. That is kind of your speciality, would you say? Kind of going back to, I know everybody's probably sick of hearing the word lockdown. How did you kind of adapt yourself to that? Because obviously we're all kind of still feeling the fact that we couldn't go to any live performances in that time. So how did you kind of adapt yourself to kind of get through that period, or many periods now, because there's obviously been more than one. But how did you kind of adapt your career to kind of mold yourself to those situations?
I've focused a lot more on writing, so it's been a lot more kind of learning based, I guess. I've picked up production, worked harder at guitar, just kind of done like a self-reevaluation. What do I need to do to get better?
Yeah.
And then when things open up again, I'm kind of ready. So I've got like repertoire and stuff now, so when venues open up, I'm going to be better than I was hopefully initially.
Well, we shall ask you about that later, about where we can see you after this point. So moving from kind of the Southampton towards Brighton kind of scene, what made you kind of look towards Liverpool? Is it kind of the history of like the music that's been around this sort of area? Is there anything specifically about LIPA that kind of drew you to this university? Is there anything that you want to say on that?
I think everyone loves the Beatles, don't they?
Yeah.
And I'd heard about like Paul McCartney Institute, and I was like, oh maybe. And then I literally came to Liverpool for the open day, and I just fell in love with the city.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave. I was like, oh my goodness, everyone's just so friendly, and they like welcome you with open arms, and that's what I appreciate about it, the city. It was like so comfy. Yeah,
and Liverpool is kind of the perfect place. I think if you wanted to get into kind of city life without the stress of a place like Manchester or London, I have friends that have gone down to London, they say that it's like living in a cesspit. No offence to anybody from London, just to make that very clear. So yeah, that is great, and I feel exactly the same. Liverpool is an amazing place, and LIPA is a great place for kind of getting to know what we want to do within the performing arts industry. So I want to take you to one of your songs, which is Butterfly World, which I listened to relatively recently in preparation, and it was amazing. Is there a specific story behind that? Kind of how did you get to writing that song? What do the kind of the lyrics represent to you, would you say?
So Butterfly World was actually about moving to Liverpool, and it was basically about finding home somewhere that isn't home.
Yeah.
So for me, I have like homes within people, like there's people that make you feel like home.
Yeah.
And Butterfly World was actually about my grandma, so it was like she was like home for me, and I was hoping to find someone in Liverpool that made me feel that sort of way, like a home,
Yeah.
like home away from home.
That's really sweet. That's really, really sweet. And if you haven't heard Butterfly World, I do really, really recommend that you go and check it out. I've checked it out myself, and it was definitely a very rewarding experience. So, obviously, credits to you, I suppose. So, the music course, kind of moving on forward, if there is anybody that would potentially see this, kind of wanting to get into music, potentially just within LIPA or any kind of other establishment around the country, would you give them any tips, any kind of preparation they could make to kind of get onto those courses and move forward in their careers?
I think honestly, take a step outside of your comfort zone. I was going to go to uni at home, and I'm so glad that I took the leap and kind of moved away, and I've grown a lot more, I think, due to that. And just also audition for places that you might not think that you want to go to. Like initially LIPA wasn't one of my top choices, and then I came to Liverpool and I was like, wow, this is where I want to be. So just kind of don't make your final decision until you have to. Yeah,
it's kind of all about testing the waters, kind of seeing where you feel you fit best, which is kind of linking back to what was in your song about Butterfly World, about kind of feeling like you're home in a place. It's all linking together. It's very professional. Looking forward to the future, say from about 5 years time, this is probably the most cliche question you're ever going to get asked, so I do apologise. Looking forward 5 years, 10 years from this point right now, where would you aim to be in your career? If you could say one title that you wish, or one place that you wish you could perform, what do you kind of want to get from this point and say 10 years in the future?
I mean, ideally on tour, singing my own songs. That is the dream, isn't it, really? Yeah. Big venues, big crowds, that's where I want to be.
Yeah, as I'm sure I would be if I had the talent. Kind of looking forward to maybe a bit shorter than 10 years in the future, kind of moving forward with everything starting to reopen, all of these live venues kind of starting to, open the doors a little bit more. Is there anywhere that we could find you, say in a year's time? Do you know if you're going to be performing anywhere where we could go and see your work? Is there anything that you have in the pipelines yet?
As yet, no, but I'm looking forward to get kind of within the Liverpool music scene when things start opening up.
Yeah.
Maybe fill a couple of support slots here and there, hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got like another couple of years in Liverpool at least, so hopefully you'll see me somewhere.
So if you're in Liverpool, keep your eyes open for the big posters saying Rhea Hanley, definitely go check it out. So kind of moving into maybe a little bit more of a political kind of stance, but we won't get too controversial. So obviously all of us being art students and people who are watching this are also art students, kind of looking at kind of everything reopening and the way that the performance art industry is kind of running currently. How have you felt the performing arts industry has coped? How do you, according to you as a music student, I'm primarily kind of management and drama based, how have you seen the music industry change? Have you seen it change at all over these troubling times, and kind of what do you think about that?
I think a lot of people have struggled in music. I know a lot of musicians that only did live performance. They were performing at weddings, just like everywhere. You know what I mean? Anyone that was gigging full time really did struggle, and I think everyone's trying to get back on their feet, but I think it's also encouraged a lot of people to pick up other jobs within the music industry that maybe they wouldn't have. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a good thing, but because we had to, but I think it's been something that has allowed a lot of people to kind of open their eyes a little bit to other jobs within the industry and out of the industry.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because we kind of learn in our lectures and everything, and kind of usually just through common sense really, is that kind of what we're going into is a highly competitive industry, and it on the face of it, it would be kind of hard to like find a home somewhere, because we all just see the actors and we just see the musicians, we just kind of see everybody on the stage. And I agree with you, kind of this complete change of how we have learned and kind of taken in this media, it's kind of opened up possibilities for us all to find kind of homes in the industry. So that was very, very beautifully put. So there is one more thing that I'd like to raise with you, which really, really interested me actually, was that looking through the internet, looking through YouTube, you appear to have done some work with a clothing brand. Would you mind telling me a little bit about that?
So I did a competition with I Saw It First back in, I think it was 2019 now. I basically posted a video on Instagram and they messaged me about it and were like, we want to have you involved. and then that was it. I was in Manchester recording a song with them, I recorded a song with Zed Bias, which is like a really cool DJ.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
So I recorded a song with him called Pink Lightning, and shot a music video with them in their clothes, and I'm not gonna lie, it's the most amount of free clothes I've ever had.
You got to keep everything?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know. My wardrobe was very thankful.
Oh, I can imagine all those brand new things. That's amazing.
But it was like an incredible experience, and I met so many lovely people through it that I still keep in contact with. So
yeah.
It was great. It was like 21 girls, so it was supporting females in the music industry, which is really
amazing.
cool.
That's amazing. Wow, that's incredible. And would you kind of consider obviously doing something like that in the future? Is there any more kind of companies that you wish you could work with that would kind of have that sort of drive? Is there anything that you have in mind?
I think competition-wise, probably not necessarily. No. I think I'd rather find my feet in the industry a little bit more naturally than that.
Okay.
But I definitely want to work with some companies.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So if you're watching, get on it. Get on it. So I believe that is everything that we have. So thank you so much for joining us. Now I can imagine that we will be able to enjoy a live performance by the amazing Rhea Hanley. Rhea, thank you so much for coming on with us. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
This is a woman who is pouring her heart and soul. She is free to scream who she is, which is something we all crave. We're all hoping we can be free and chained in an unwanted reality, where emotions are hidden, real love is forbidden, fake friends have become the norm. A generation of attention seekers, the real souls get deemed up. But here she is, clear-sighted, radiating pink lightning, future-telling, slightly psychic. She knows who she is, doing this for her own head held high, ignoring you, ringing her phone, kryptonite, stronger than you've ever known, never out of sight. She knows who she is, she knows who she is. This is a woman who is pouring her heart and soul. She is free to scream who she is, which is something we all crave. We're all hoping we can be free and chained in an unwanted reality, where emotions are hidden, real love is forbidden, fake friends have become the norm. A generation of attention seekers, the real souls get deemed up. But here she is, clear-sighted, radiating pink lightning, future-telling, slightly psychic. She knows who she is, she knows who she is. But here she is, clear-sighted, radiating pink lightning,
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Late LIPA show for all those that are still watching. If not, I know that one person is, and I have to say, Jill, you are looking very fine. Evan's here before that goes down the track. Evan, thank you so much for joining us on the Late LIPA show. It's lovely to have you here. Somebody that is theatre, this is more kind of what I'm familiar with, so I feel like we will be able to make this work. I'm sure we will. Great, so yeah. We will go back to the very, very beginning, kind of before you became the godfather that we all know as Mr. Evan Johnson. So, kind of going back to Northwich, I believe is where you're from.
It is.
Moving around, kind of look, it wasn't much of an art scene in kind of your town. Kind of what got you into where you are now? Was there any like big name that was your inspiration?
The basic gist is I used to sit, my dad used to work nights and my mum was a teacher, she worked days, and I'd sit in the middle of the day when I was like 3 or 4 and I'd watch shit telly, like watch awful telly, and I'd just repeat it and just like stand up and act, as they say, in the mirror. I was just dicking about. And mum was like, oh, right, so what we'll do is we'll send him off and we'll give him ballet lessons. So my first experience to the arts was a really shoddy ballet school in Northwich. And then I went on and did a few little like youth things, and basically it just piled up until I went to school, and then it kind of all set in, and it was, if there's something I can do, I'll do it. So it was kind of just chucking myself at everything. And then yeah, it really took off in high school when I joined Actor Tribe, which Lee Boardman and Jenny Boardman, they both run, and got a load of different opportunities from that. I was in a little film that went to the Edinburgh Film Festival, and that was my flex the whole high school.
Yeah, I mean that's quite the achievement, to be fair.
And then I kind of, I suppose with the pandemic and maybe a few years before, I kind of strayed away from acting a little bit more when I got more into like writing and other stuff. Yeah. Other assorted things, but yeah, that's kind of the story. I kind of just spent 16 years acting and went, do you know what?
It's quite good this, yeah, you quite like it. We'll touch on the pandemic a bit later on, because that's all nearly held you hand. We'll talk about that a bit later on. We kind of asked you the previous guests before kind of how they saw the industry develop, but we'll get to that later. Right. So you were saying that your school was quite a big part of your kind of acting career, kind of getting into where you want to be, or kind of the time that occurred while you were in school was happening there. So was there much of a drama presence within your school? I mean, for me, there wasn't that much of there wasn't like school shows, there wasn't stuff like that. Right. Was there kind of like a really celebrated art section within your high school, or did you kind of just get your experience from stuff that was happening outside of like your educational space? So
that, it's very interesting you phrase like that, because no, absolutely not. Yeah. The reason I got into that was to get out of the shit that like everyone was doing. Yeah. Like I played rugby for a bit, and it was just. Did I. Yeah.
Prop to a prima donna. That's what I always say. Exactly. There you go.
Spot on. I played rugby for a bit, and everyone else was kind of doing it, and it just wasn't really like, it was a lot of early mornings, and it was one of those. So I went to kind of greener pastures and found places around that did the littlest little bits, and it all kind of just added up in the end. Yeah.
And now here you are, you're in LIPA, which is great. So where did you move on from that point? Obviously you said that you went to Edinburgh. So you didn't go to Edinburgh, you made a film that went to the Edinburgh Festival. Yes. I promise, I am listening to it. So where did that occur? Kind of what was that about? Can you tell us much about kind of the process of that?
Yeah, so it was called The Diamond Crusade, and I've got it on DVD, and it's hilarious. It's me and a little, there's a school called Consley School, which used to be a boarding school, and we basically just had these little boarding school uniforms. It was a ghost film of these lads at boarding school, and there was an open audition that I went to, and was called back to, and met the cast and everyone, and kind of got along with it. So it was like 4 weeks of filming in the middle of summer, and I had to have 1 week off schools, I believe.
Which must have been the best feeling.
Exactly. So that was different gravy. And yeah, that for me then was the solidified like the whole industry really interests me, and I just kind of want to stick to it. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't want to be anywhere else. Yeah. I don't want to go back to shit in maths, because like my high school didn't have anything like that. We didn't have a drama club or a class or nothing like that. So when I went to college, I centered my options around it and was like, right, I'll do theatre, I'll do performing, and I'll do English because I enjoy writing anyway. Yeah. And it was college where there was college productions, and it was easier to get like time off to do all the shit, like to go out and do acting jobs, or to incorporate things. Because like stereos, I did that in my first year of college, moving into the second in that kind of transition period there. Yeah.
Tell us a bit about Stereos. Like, what was that all about? If you could sum it up,
if I could sum
would
it
you
up.
say?
So, it's going to get deep, mate. I'm not
That's
gonna lie.
fine. It's fine. Let the people know.
So I had a mate called Amit who, in my first year of college, we used to like walk together because he lived on my road.
Yeah.
And he actually, unfortunately, committed suicide.
Right.
While I kind of knew him.
Yeah.
And we were very good mates, and the reaction that we had from the college was very much like, oh yeah, you can grieve for a bit, but then you need to come back in full force. And like, I remember going in one day and it was like I'd had to have a couple of days off, and I went back in and someone was like, you haven't written this essay, there was a deadline and you didn't meet the deadline because you didn't hand it in. And I was like, well yeah, but surely you can see why, and that kind of thing, the ignorance of it. So I wrote a play that I'd started writing when I was 15. I actually started writing it in a GCSE English exam when I was finished. Yeah. And I wrote it and I went, I will do, this is for Amit, like I'll do it for the lad, God rest his soul. Yeah. So yeah, I chucked it on, I got a cast together, I got a crew together, and we just did it, and we just did it because, you know, we didn't have any support growing up, if you know what I mean. Yeah. We didn't have much arts around Northwich, so it was nice to create a kind of fixed thing that we could go back to, if you know what I mean. The experience is still there, and that was a thing for me of going, if I do this, in my head, there's no way I won't get into LIPA, because if I can work that hard at that, then I'll work that hard at anything else and get into LIPA.
Which that is amazing. Like, that is a complete testament to you. Like, that got me. That is like a really, really amazing story. So obviously, congratulations to you. Be it obviously a very, very late congratulations, but that is amazing. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that with us. But yeah, to write a play from 15, like that is very impressive. I mean, this is the guy writing plays from 15. Watch this space. But so, kind of talking about that as a project, I understand that currently you are a man with many projects as we've seen. One of them being Fruit Bomb, which is, I guess, maybe a little bit of a departure from your kind of background in drama, theatre. So, kind of moving towards kind of the Fruit Bomb direction.
Yes.
How have you found transitioning from one sector of the arts as an industry to the other kind of sectors in the industry? Kind of how was that transition for you?
Well, it's the full going from in front of the camera to behind the camera. Yeah. And, you know, the famous actors do that when they're at the peak of their career, and I did it far too early in some people's eyes. But it was, especially for Stereos, was my kind of hand in it was going, I'll try it, and if I'm no good, it was because one of the LIPA courses, Applied Theatre, when it was like sold to me, you know what I mean? When I looked it up, it was like learning to direct and learning to facilitate theatre. And I was like, if I can give this a go, then, and I'm good at it and I know what I'm doing, then I'll stick to that, because like acting's really fun, but it's very unstable. Whereas something like that, I know that I can constantly make work because I can keep writing and keep plugging at it, and I can make things happen. So yeah, after Stereos, I went, well, do you know what? Immediately I was like, the next thing I can direct, I just want to do it. And it was not long after that we did the first unofficial, not under Fruit Bomb, music video for Oceans on Mars. Me and Max, the other lad who runs it, who you met, didn't you?
Yeah, I have,
yeah, me and Max, we, over lockdown, I wrote everything out and sent it to him and said, film this, you're the only actor, do it like this, keep coming back to me. We were on a FaceTime call while he was filming it, and from now I was like, yeah, do you know what, I could definitely see myself doing this shit. Like, in the middle of Stereos, because it was quite multimedia, we had poetry, we had theatre, and we had stuff like that, and in the middle of it, we filmed a music video for a stereophonic song, kind of a makeshift one, and in that I went, oh, it's really fun to do something to music. Like, a lot of my stuff, Stereos is inspired, it's called Stereos because stereophonics, it's all about music. So to kind of work with music and do the thing I love to anything was like, it was ace to me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, I wish I had achieved in my career up north half of what this guy is. Like, I have to say, I've heard about this man for a long time, and this is kind of the first time that we've sat down and properly met him. I've always heard Evan this, Evan that. He's always doing incredible things, and I'm really glad that I finally get to sit down and actually speak to you and like pick your brain. It's so interesting. So going on from that, kind of talking about, you mentioned lockdown and Corona, and I've said to the guests previously, obviously everybody's sick about hearing about Corona and tears and stuff like
Definitely.
that. And obviously that is a part of it. Did you do anything else across kind of the lockdown periods, or was it just that project?
Absolutely. I spent, well, I mean, the first lockdown for me, I know people, it was an awful time to be a human being. Like, it was shit for everybody, but it was really like, it was useful for me because I had a designated period of time where there was nothing else to do other than write.
Yeah.
And I was kind of working on my writing as I went. There's either 6 or 7, I think there's something like 3 short films and 4 plays that I wrote, and I used to do, because of it, like, I know some people in this room know that like I was talking to them a lot, and I used to get up and I'd do like 5 hours straight of writing, and then I'd have like lunch and I'd go back and I'd just continue writing.
Yeah.
Which is why it kind of comes so natural to me. So there's a lad at John Moore's called Caleb who's deaf,
Right.
and he's been in touch with me because he knows of some of the things I've done, and me and him are going to write like a modern silent film together and do it, and we're kind of going to do that and stem it off Fruit Bomb, do Fruit Bomb music, and then we'll have Fruit Bomb films and do things like that, because short films and films is something I'd really like to get into, as well as directing more theatre and obviously sticking to music videos. But yeah, so and then the second pandemic when Fruit Bomb started, it's mad, I said this on my Instagram, it's mad that in January, like the start of January, it was literally an idea, because I'd seen Mike, the lad who we'd done the first video for, I'd seen him in the space between the 2 lockdowns, he did a little gig, and I went along and went, oh bloody hell, that song was great, like I can see a narrative in my head, so I'm going to ask him if he wants something. And it was that, because my philosophy has always been, if you don't ask, you don't get, and it's that going to people and just saying, hey, this is my idea, do you want in? And then Max follows me blindly, he was like, yeah, absolutely, I love it. And we just kind of, it literally just, for like 3 months, and it just blew up massively. We've now got a list of bands like longer than my arm that we've got plans for, and more by the second. Sam McLaughlin's an artist from back home where I am, who's now at university in Liverpool, I don't know which he's at, but he came to us and said, right, I'm gonna give you this budget, and I want you to do a music video for me and send it out. And in January we were like, oh yeah, if you want, we'll do it for free, mate. Like, if you want, you know what I mean, I'll sort it, don't worry. And it's mad that we've kind of come back from literally nothing. But that is absolute testament to Max and the managers, because as much as I'd like to say I could have done it, there's no way I could have done all that shit on my own. Do you know what I mean? Them guys are all nuts.
I mean, don't sell yourself too short though, because I mean, I know some people that are in the arts, and through lockdown they really struggled to kind of find work, and I think that is a testament to you that you've managed. You said, look, there's nothing going on. What can I create from this? And I think that is something that obviously I can imagine you are, but you should be very, very proud of, which is
100%.
amazing. So we are still kind of on the terms of lockdown. I know that we won't talk about it too much because everybody is sick of it. But I've asked before, how do you feel like the industry has changed? So we have kind of seen people that are maybe naturally performers. They have now found far more security because they've had the time to research, looking at kind of more backstage roles and creating stuff. And obviously, you are part of that to a degree.
Absolutely.
Do you feel that the industry has changed massively? Do you think it's going to be able to start up, and will it be the same from what it was before? Do you know what your thoughts are on that?
Absolutely. I think. We'll get political as well. I think testament to the British government. Everything has changed, and it is their fault. They didn't do anything right because they're all knobheads. But do you remember the thing that came out that was Fatima's next job could be in cybersecurity? And it was a ballet dancer who they said, forget about the arts, you could do cybersecurity. The
whole retrain thing.
Exactly, that whole retrain thing that came out. Well, in my head, before then, like, as a kind of layman's eye, like looking into actors, it's very much dog eat dog, and everyone's competing for one thing. And then since then, I feel like it's flipped on its head, and everyone's going, no, do you know what? We are this community of people who are providing our services, even if it's not necessarily like, it's not age-defying shit we're doing. If it's going on Coronation Street, or if it's doing a little video to say like happy birthday to you and that, we're doing this shit for people, to entertain people, and in a time where there is nothing else to do but consume content and be entertained, then people are the people who keep plugging away at it. It's heroic. They're amazing.
Exactly.
These people who keep going.
Honestly, I could sit and I could speak to you for hours about this, which we may do when the cameras are turned off. So kind of moving forward, because I know that we're running out of time. So say the future. I know that we have mentioned now probably the absolute monolith that the Fruit Bomb Empire has the potential to be.
Yes.
Where would you like to be, say, in 5-10 years' time? If you had a specific role that you wanted to fill, or you had a specific player that you wanted to play, a place that you wanted to play, tripping over my words, where would that be? How would that look?
Well, at the minute, me and Max, my partner, we are co-writing our first short film.
Right.
Our first short film. I've done a few. I'm doing it with him to make sure that it is absolutely our project, and we're going to keep working at them. Whenever we finish one, we're going to start up a new one. Whenever we get inspiration, we're going to start up a new one. We're going to take it to film festivals, and with a bit of luck, I see. I always said to my managers, like, we're not necessarily going to do the Arctic Monkeys next single, but bands like smaller bands, so Kim Jennett and Mike Gray are very good friends of mine who I've got quite. Kim Jennett was on The Voice, and she's been in loads of bands, and now she's got quite a significant following, and that kind of like level we can definitely pitch ourselves at, I feel. So 5-10 years, I'd say 100%. Fruit Bomb could have moved on to something massive, and Fruit Bomb Films absolutely could have done the same.
Exactly. I'm probably going to have to end it here. I'm so sorry, but mate, you've been an absolute star.
No stress.
Keep your eye out for Mr. Evan Johnson. He is going to fly. I know that he is. This man knows what he's doing. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you believe you're the king of the jungle. You got the t-shirt, do you know how the song goes? You're looking good, but the fact is you're lazy. But people love you cause you're funny and crazy. 7-Eleven, buy a 6-pack of beer. If there's a party, you're the last one to leave it. It's not too late, we could stop all the dreaming. Get out this town, look around, we don't need it. Hell and heaven, they can wait for you. So go and do all the things that you want to do. So set me free, still a vie. I said, come on pretty baby, take a chance on me. I said, shame on me, cause I didn't see that you were looking at me, baby, by the Ferris wheel. I know you're cool, but you think that you're chocolate. Get off my nerves, cause I still got a soft spot. You look at me and think I got all the answers. Maybe I do, but I'm scared taking chances. Loading a bottle, but we ain't sailing nowhere. Rip up the cork, get the wind into our hair. Get off the train in the rain at the station. Knock back a drink, cause we think the boat's sinking. Hell and heaven, they can wait for you. So go and do all the things that you want to do. So set me free, still a vie. I said, come on pretty baby, take a dance with me. I said, shame on me, cause I didn't see that you were looking at me, baby, by the Ferris wheel. I said, stand by me, stick around with me, cause it's a long walk back to where we just been. I said, hey there baby, so you banged him and me. I wish I never found out, but hey, c'est la vie. I said, I'm playing our song on the radio, and we're singing out loud all the words that we know. And it's a long tongue salad pissing off ABC. Oh, is it that me and you, cause it's time that we grew. And it's a yeah, come along with me. And then you think all the things that you wanna say. I said, oh wow, pretty baby, come and take my hand. I'm gonna show you all that, baby, yes I am. Whoa. Such is life in the rear view mirror. The open road up ahead is the future. Time came around and wrecked our place, but when I look back now, I got a smile on my face. Come on, baby, take a chance with me. Stick around on the town if you wanna see. We don't belong anywhere, is what she said to me. So come on, take a dance and spin around with me. She said, shine on, baby, set me free, stay la vie. I said, I'll stand by me and stick around with me. And when the street lights fall, you can buy my beat. Cause when the morning light comes, I'll be gone, say la vie. Yeah, we don't belong anywhere.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Late Late LIPA show. I'm joined by the amazing Tom, Reem, Archie and Liam, also known as Ask Elliot. Thank you so much for coming on. I have to say I am quite a big fan, so this is really cool for me to ask you all these questions. So I guess we'll start kind of way back before what we see now as Ask Elliot. So take me back to Birkdale and Runcorn. Kind of what were your biggest inspirations, kind of what inspired you to start to get into music? Would you say anyone? Who wants to start?
Well, to begin, it was another band, I'd say, that we supported a lot. Like they were an inspiration.
To get into a band or to get into us playing instruments?
What were your biggest inspirations? So like the artists that you listened to that kind of made you wanted to feel like you wanted to go into doing music?
At least three are in love with the 1975.
Right.
No, we're getting into Catfish.
Yeah.
Very sort, yeah, I think probably. Wombats maybe a bit.
Yeah, I think we have like very indie origins, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm guessing the Wombats being from LIPA, was that kind of like a big kind of segue into you looking forward to that school? Did that kind of inspire you?
Yeah, they were like one of the only names that I knew really.
Yeah.
The graduates.
Well, we'll get to LIPA a bit later on, but kind of going back again, like I said, to your kind of origins as a band. So the Ask Elliot that we see right now, kind of when did that come together, and kind of how did you feel like you all started to gel? Like what was the first show that you all played in the kind of current setting now?
First show,
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve. That was in
Scammerdale.
That was in Scammerdale.
Got another band. That was 2018 into 19 New Year's Eve.
I feel like our first like big show was April, February.
Which one?
Battle of Bands, first round.
First round was January.
January.
The
And
Arts
that was the Arts Club, and that was like a really big gig because it was like our first time playing Liverpool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of like what set it off, I guess.
Yeah.
So Battle of the Bands is quite a big part of your band's history, I guess you would say, and that was kind of like the biggest thing that you did when you all started out.
Yeah.
So I understand that you won Battle of the Bands as well, which I guess I should probably give you a very, very, very late congratulations for. So kind of moving on from Battle of the Bands, what were the next steps for you as a band? I understand that you moved to Sound City, you started to play Sound City. What was that like for you guys?
Cold.
Very
cold
Yeah.
day.
It was good though.
It was good.
We
because, like,
were
outdoors.
in a parking lot, but you could just hear music all around us. There was a big hangar next to us where the Magic
and Magic were playing.
all
Yeah,
playing.
loads of great acts on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, it was a good experience.
And kind of what was the reaction like back home? Because I can imagine winning Battle of the Bands as kind of like a newer band is quite a big achievement. I mean, I know that I would not have the musical prowess to do that at all. Kind of what was the reaction back home with all of your friends, all of like your circles back, like I said, in Birkdale and Runcorn? Is there much of a music representation there, or were you kind of like the first guy to achieve that really and kind of move forward into like a bigger stage?
Well, in Runcorn, there's not much of a music scene because like the closest like city is Liverpool, so that's where like most of the main things happen.
Yeah, we know a few bands as well in doing battle bands with us. It's quite nice to be off them, but you know, they're still our mates. So
Yeah. But it's best to be the best, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, no offence to the other bands if they're watching, please don't hunt me down. So moving on from Sound City, what was the next step for you guys from that point onwards?
Was it the headline?
no, it was a recording first.
Oh yeah.
We recorded
So we went
the first
into the
single.
studio because we used the money that we won for Battle Bands to get like go in the studio
Mm.
and then record 2032, and then we released that.
We recorded it in July. We had the headline in August and released it in September.
Right.
So it was.
Well, I understand through speaking to your manager, actually, in particular, that you worked with quite a industry-renowned producer for some of the recordings of your songs. Kind of what was that like working with him? Was that kind of like an insight into the industry and what could be the kind of future projects for the band?
Yeah, he helped me.
He's a bit crazy, really.
He's mad, but he helps us loads.
It's a bit mad, but he's like
He's really good, doesn't he?
he's boss what he does, and as you can tell because he's done like the night cafe stuff.
Mm.
Has he done all the night cafes?
Yeah, done all that. Like I say, he worked with the Wombats a bit.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I mean, it shows really, doesn't it? It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
What he does. Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of looking from that and then kind of the Battle of the Band sort of timeline, kind of moving forward to where we are kind of currently, being in LIPA, studying at LIPA. How do you feel that the establishment that we are all in kind of celebrates you guys as a band, and how does that kind of help you move forward with what you want to achieve?
I think we get a lot more opportunities than like other people would, I think. And like the teachers are very supportive about it. It's like it's very relevant. It's kind of, it's not just about like doing work. It's like it's very much like being out and getting work in the actual industry, and like making sure that when you leave LIPA you have something to do.
Yeah.
Like we have places to perform at, places to, you know, make use of, I guess.
Yeah.
Like studios and stuff, and like just building contacts for like later on in the future.
So kind of taking LIPA and looking forward to the future, where would you guys want to be in say 5-10 years time? If you could picture yourself in a certain venue or having a certain amount of songs released, kind of where would you see the band, or where would you ideally see the band in the upcoming years?
Well, not quite Echo Arena.
No, not obviously not that one. I think probably like play the Olympia probably.
Olympia, that'd be nice, yeah.
That's kind of the big dream so far, and then kind of moving on from that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So obviously, I mean, I know who you guys are. Like I said, I am a big fan, and kind of you guys to me are kind of like the people that I know the most from the music course, just through kind of speaking to people. You are obviously, there's no denying, quite popular. So what advice would you give to people looking to move into LIPA and to study a similar course to what you guys take? Kind of what advice would you give them moving into LIPA if that is where they want to go?
Should we like give a piece of advice each?
Why not? Why not?
Well, I feel like you need to be kind of passionate about it, because if it's just like a thing that you just do, you'll come to LIPA and then like, because it's like every day, it's you kind of like, you'll just might be like burn out, and then you like hate music, so you really need to like know what you want it to do, I guess.
It's a good one, that. No, I'd probably say like, just like chill out a bit, because it's easy to like compare yourself to the other people, but I think the most important thing to remember is like everyone's good at their own little things, and so that just you're there for a reason.
Yeah, everyone has a place.
And be willing to network as an actor, speak to people and stuff, because they will help you.
Yeah.
And then I guess take as many opportunities as you can, just so like when you get to LIPA you're not afraid to you know, take all the opportunities and like make use of what's there.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of moving down to kind of the industry itself, we would say. Obviously we're probably all very, very sick of hearing the words lockdown and COVID and everything. I know that I am. So I'm not familiar with the music scene. I kind of said in the last episode with Ria that I am by no means a music person, but kind of seeing how the industry has changed and kind of how it's kind of morphed to try and adapt to kind of difficult times that we've been in. Have you seen any change in how you operate as a band, or how have you had to adapt to kind of still stay, I don't want to say relevant, that seems like a bit of a harsh word, but kind of still stay and kind of hold all of the attention that you've garnered up until that point? So how did you adapt to get through that?
Yeah, I found, I think we struggled at the start to try and come up with things, because gigging was like a big thing for us, and it was like how we interacted with most of our audience. And then we kind of just worked around different things. So we did a couple live streams, did a couple covers, and like edited them. What else have we done?
In the studio.
As soon as we got in the studio.
So it was more of a time for us to kind of make music, to just like to prepare for when we can come back out and start gigging. I think that's the best way to explain it.
So looking at everything kind of opening back up now, we are obviously hopefully at the end of all of this entire mess of a situation that we've been in. Do you have any future plans for live performance? I mean, I've seen some stuff online. I haven't been lucky enough to see you live just yet, but it's definitely in my calendar. Do you have anything currently that is in line for you to do? Do you have any venues booked? Do you know if you're going on onto any live shows kind of within the next year, the next 2 years?
Definitely like within the year, in the next couple of years, because we have things like penciled in, but not like confirmed yet, because obviously everything's still quite up in the air.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like once it's all confirmed, then we will have something. But there's we will definitely be performing soon. Yeah.
So I believe that we have covered the questions now about the band itself, but for all the people watching, we have a game called the Newlywed Game. If you want to know a little bit more about these fine gentlemen that are sat in front of me, this is the way to find out. So are you familiar with how to play the game? If not, I'll tell you how we do. So I will ask you a question, and it is about a certain person in the band, one particular person. So you write down the answer about this person. So we'll give it a go the first time around, and it might make sense eventually. So the first question for the fine gentleman in Ask Elliot is, who would Tom say plays his instrument better than he does? If Tom was to get off his high horse and say, look, this person has the potential to play my instrument better than I can, who would he choose?
Out of us?
Out of just you guys. Reem's confident. Reem is very, very confident. When you're done, show it up to me.
It's very small.
It's very small.
How many questions is there?
There is currently, I believe, 9 questions.
Probably went into more paper.
I can do it like this.
So Reem is saying Archie, Tom is saying Archie, Archie is saying Reem, and Liam is saying Reem. There we go. So Archie, it would appear, and also with Reem, that you two are in a tie. So on to the next question. Reem is on a road trip, and there are 5 songs in his playlist. What would the 5 songs be?
Everyone should get this. I play the 5 songs, say 5 songs on repeat.
Our song. Any song.
Any song.
God, this is so hard.
Liam might be struggling. He's struggling.
I'm just gonna put like artists kind of.
My handwriting is so awful. It's a good question.
I'll give you 10 more seconds.
I feel like I'm on a test or
Right, our time is up. So, let's see, what are the songs? We'll start. If you read out the songs.
Well, I literally couldn't think of a song, so I put 2 artists. It'll be something by Dayglow and something by 1975.
Tom, what are your answers?
Tom Mish didn't ask away.
Reem, what are your songs?
I thought what you want to do, Bobby Caldwell, Hot Rod, Dayglow, If You're Too Shy, 1925, Leave the Door Open, Bruno Mars.
And
Back.
Mr. Liam
I
Shields.
put Love It If We Made It.
Oh, shut up. I'll give you that
And
one.
then I put Blue Nile one, question mark.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I was just going to say Cats, but I don't know if that was playing the album.
That's it.
And then Bruno Major one, I thought.
Interesting.
Would you say they were alright?
Yeah, like, eventually we'll get put on, yeah, so yeah.
Well, there they go, there they go. So, the next question, if Archie could have one artist to feature on an Ask Elliot track, who would it be? That was very quick.
No.
Give me 5 seconds. 2, 1. Okay, so actually, we'll come to you. We'll see if everybody else gets it right first. So, Mr. Liam Shields, what is your answer?
KSI.
Are we seeing a trend? And what is the piece of paper?
That came through my mind. But I said Paul McCartney.
So everyone was wrong. That was an awful question to ask. So we'll quickly just bury that because I don't know what just happened there. So we'll go back on to Mr. Ream. So what would Ream's last meal be if he had the choice? Liam's looking confused. Ream's got it down. Tom is equally as confused.
Oh wait, hold on now, a little bit. This is an awful meal, but it's okay.
Give me 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we will start with Mr. Archie.
I went with pizza.
I went chicken with and shit.
I said it now, these and Percy Pigs.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
No,
Ream is clearly a man of very good taste. So, moving on to Archie. What would Archie be doing right now if it wasn't for music? And we'll try and keep it PG. We'll give you 10 seconds. Are we all done, gentlemen? Do we have our answers? So we will start with Liam Shields.
working in M&S original.
Ream.
Pro Rocket League player.
Nothing.
Short and sweet.
I said I'll be doing Twitch streaming gaming, so you're very close.
So Ream was the closest one there, and Tom was just downright brutal. So, moving on to, we will move on to Tom. So, Tom, what do your fellow bandmates do that annoys you the most?
One for each. One for each.
Do one for each, why not? Let's really break up the band. Let's see if they all stay together after the interview. We'll give you 15 seconds. Five seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, gentlemen, time is up. So let's start with Archie.
I couldn't think of anything from you two. I just said something about myself to put more stuff in the chat, to be honest.
Yeah, I just put all of Gareth Larson.
I thought not leaving flashbacks for.
I said Lynn's very picky.
I only got one for myself and I just put anything.
Anything.
Yeah, anything.
So we're unearthing some tension that no one knows about. Hopefully that'll fizzle out. So, moving on to Mr. Liam Shields. Everybody else, you are exempt from this question because this is an interesting one. Without looking, what is the colour of Mr. Liam Shields' eyes?
Honestly, so that's all.
If only you had, you'd have the right answer. We'll give you 5 seconds. Okay, time is up. The beautiful Liam Shields. What colour are his eyes?
I put green.
I put blue.
Green?
There we go. So, finally, the very final question, and potentially the most important one. If I was to give you 10 seconds to write down one Ask Elliot song for somebody to listen to if they'd never heard any of your music, what would it be?
The one to like hook 'em.
The one to hook them, the one to reel them in.
The one that's released or any.
Any at all.
Oh, easy.
I believe we're way over 10 seconds. So, are we all there? So, Archie, we'll start with you.
I put settle down.
Oh, 2032.
I put Olivia.
Olivia.
And there we go. So, if you've never heard of these fine gentlemen before, definitely check out those songs. So, that, ladies and gentlemen, is all that she wrote. Thank you very, very much for coming on to the Late Late Live show. If you want to see more of Ask Elliot, their new song, Flowers of White, comes out on the 22nd of April, which is also mine and Liam Shields' birthday, which is a great day for everybody. So, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
I bought you flowers of white to cover up your habits. You said you're feeling fine, you know that I don't buy it. So I bought you flowers of white to let you know I'm trying. Thank you, cheers.